How's it going, everyone? Just want to go ahead and give my thoughts on the current dating market and the current status of just the male Gen Z, millennial dating scene, and what I'm seeing, my eyes on the ground perspective. Now, I'm coming at this from someone who's in their late 20s. I think all I've ever known is post 2012 dating. There's the famous trope of, dating changed immensely in 2012, and it makes sense, right? That's when Tinder came out, a lot of these major dating apps, right? And that's all I've ever known. That's all I've ever grown up with. And I just want to kind of give my experience briefly and then my thoughts and kind of like talk men down a ledge a bit. I think it is very bad, but there's so much more to life. But let me go ahead and elaborate what I'm trying to get at here. So I remember one of my first experiences in college, right? And high school was interesting, but everyone's going to have their own experiences in high school. I went to a public high school where I was actually a racial minority despite being the racial majority in my country. And I think that plays into things when you're culturally just kind of different than those around you. It's going to be a lot harder to matchmake. Now, that's something people got to consider. I don't think a lot of people consider their location, how much that might matter, right? So I really didn't get anything going in high school, and I'm not, it's not my first preference, but I'm super into all, races, ethnicities of women, black women, Hispanic women, whatever it may be. But you got to understand that there's always a market for anything, right? And you're pretty much going to be at the lowest of your pecking order you're ever going to be when you're in high school. Now, when you get into college, your options open up a lot. Now, not only the major thing I noticed with college is that the average woman you'll talk to is a lot more dateable. Like, they care a lot more about their appearance, where they're going in life. So it was a lot easier for me to date in college, but I still had difficulties. And one experience that really stuck out to me freshman year, welcome week, you're doing that thing where you're all kind of just getting to know each other. I went and visited my friend's floor, and I was talking with some people who lived on his floor. Now, there was a big group of us all in the circle, pretty much everyone from that floor, all gathered in one room, just talking in the circle, just talking about life and stuff. And this one girl brought up some dude who I guess wasn't present at the time, but lived on the floor. Let's just call him Jay, right? And Jay was like, apparently talking about, hey, I can't wait to lose my virginity. I'm an 18-year-old guy here in college. I can't wait to, have sex for the first time and experience the human experience. And this girl, let's call her Jen, Jen was like, all right, this guy Jay is a loser. We're all going to be, if you're a virgin, you're not going to be a virgin in a month. Like, he just needs to shut up about that. It's not a big deal. He's making a big deal about it. And I remember thinking that, I was like, okay, great. Dating, this is finally, high school, I was dormant, and everything is going to kind of all take off here and now. Well, that wasn't the case at all in college. College was a ton of trial and error. And honestly, I didn't get anything going until my senior year. And the truth is, guys, if you don't know this already, dating, it's going to matter immensely on your looks. So if you're above 20% body fat, it's not going to fly, y'all. And you have to know where you stand with your looks, because your height, your ethnicity, your race, your looks, your facial bones, that's all going to matter immensely. And you need to know where you stand with your looks somehow. And I think the best way to get that is you need to go on the dating apps and just kind of see how you do. Now, a match on the dating apps is good because it means your looks interested them, but that doesn't mean that that's going to go all the way. A match rarely ever translates into a date, and then that rarely translates into a lay, right? So my point is, the female experience of sex and dating is immensely different than the male experience of sex and dating. Because remember my story about Jay and Jen, right? Jay probably struggled for a long fucking time after having that discussion with Jen. And Jen's over here like, hey, it's not a big deal, bro. Everyone's going to have sex, and it's just going to be that. Now, I'll also say this. the reason why incel is thrown around so much is it's a shaming word kind of for men, right? So it's to divorce men from their idea of, like, their animalistic desire for sex versus their true human, paternal, bigger sense, almost like a religious self desire for companionship, right? Like the most divine human self desire for companionship. Something bigger than just animalistic sex. And that's the reason why they use incel. They don't use words like forever alone and stuff like that. Now, I will say that dating, you're gonna, if you move with certain like trepidations, kind of like how I do, like I don't want to ever be a person who a girl regrets sleeping with me or anything like that. Every girl I've ever slept with, I slept with for about a year, more times than I could count, and I can assure they didn't, they did it, it was premeditated, and it was something they did because they wanted to do it. It wasn't like I took advantage of them or anything like that. And unfortunately in college, you see this a lot where guys will, shoot their shot with a girl at a party, and the girl will say no like half a dozen times, but the guys wait for the girls to get more and more intoxicated as the night goes on. And you just see so much of this just slimy behavior from guys. And it makes the dating market a lot worse for guys who actually want something a little bit more longer term or genuine, because it's going to create a lot of disposition from women towards men. Rightfully so, right? Because if there's a bunch of slimy people trying to take advantage of you, get material gain out of you, you'd obviously have a lot of caution towards those people, right? So I don't even necessarily blame women for this, but this is just something to be, men got to consider. Is it's like, don't think that you're missing out on too much, because a lot of the stuff that quote unquote successful lays that guys are getting nowadays, that I'm seeing at least, is it's like bottom of the barrel ticket items, like it's so much better if you have like an arranged kind of date night, and it's kind of like you both are going to a movie you want to see or something like that, and you guys are going to have a nice little romantic night after, versus you're just having some like sloppy drunk sex. Like it's really silly. So don't think that you're missing out on something major, because I think what I'm describing, these like kind of longer term relationships, these like real connection kind of things, these are harder and harder to find, because I think guys are just kind of like taking the short and easy roads. And unfortunately, in male dating life, you're going to have times where you're going to have to just be alone for like long periods of time, and you don't really know when the next woman's going to come into your life. I think women are a lot like cats. Like they kind of like come and go. You can't really tell them what to do or anything of that nature. For example, I had this date with this absolute smoke show off of Hinge last summer. And, she was bad. Like, she dressed up, had this kind of like, she like very beautiful, kind of like gothy looking girl, but not too much. It was very like, well done, but versus me, man, like, what am I gonna, like, all I'm gonna do is wear like a nice cologne, make sure I have like a clean t-shirt. I'm not, like, I don't have an equivalent thing to match that. I guess I could wear like the quote unquote like old money style or something like that. But I think a lot of that is cope, y'all, because, like, I don't think women are gonna like actually like date a guy because of like some ish he wore, swag or stuff like that. Stupid, right? So basically, short, the Hinge date ends, and then I text her. I went on vacation like right after the date. She knew about this, and then I'm like, hey, I'm back from vacation. You want to hang out again? And she's like, hey, I didn't really feel a connection. And that's, I was like, whatever, honestly, because at that point I'm decided like, hey, women are like cats. I don't really have a say in this. I kind of just along for the ride at this point. And next thing you know, I'm back on Hinge like this month. It's been like a little over a year. So I'm like, hey, fuck it, I'm gonna get back on Hinge. This same girl, the same smoke show, shows up in my likes. So it's like, just you gotta let them like come and go. So I could easily probably go on a date with this girl again. She probably wants to give me another shot, but do I want to give her another shot? It's that kind of thing. So it's like, guys, just kind of let women be like cats. Like, there's no this idea that men are going to have control over this situation. You don't. You at best, you have control over who you commit to, and that's it. That's all men have control over. If you want to get anything going, if you want to get a date, some sex, a lay, a cuddle, you don't know when that's going to come, and you just got to make peace with that. And that's one of the most brutal truths there is. It could be next month, it could be next year, it could be 3 years from now. But the point is that you got to keep living life, and if you think too much about this stuff, it's going to just corrupt you. You need to spend your time doing something kind of productive that like occupies your mind and gets you functional. Gym, going outside and walking, even if it's something you just enjoy doing for you, like anime or whatever. Like, don't obsess over these cats that come and go, man. Like, it's just not going to get you anywhere. Another thing I will say is I've noticed that getting into my later 20s, like, for example, this girl who showed up on my Hinge likes, and I have so many stories of this I could go into. Like, I have probably like a dozen stories now of getting rejected and then these girls just coming back. But, they do it subtly, right? They don't always make it obvious that, hey, they're trying to give me a second chance and stuff. It's just what they do, guys. And I think there is something to be said about kind of when you do approach the later 20s, things change and they kind of need you a bit more than they did before. And that's up to you. Like I said, the one power men have is who they commit to. So it's up to you whether you want to give them that time of day when they didn't give you the time of day when you were in your earlier 20s. That's up to you, man. And just live life and do the best you can. And don't think you're like worthless or something, man. Like, because men, we're just fed so much negative media and stuff these days, and all this misandry rhetoric and stuff in the media. Don't feed into it, man. It's so stupid. I think men are getting more and more apathetic, and that's something the world needs to be cautious of. And I'm kind of here to try to talk men down a ledge a bit. So, all right, y'all, it's been real, and I hope y'all have a good rest of your day, and I hope this helped out somewhat. Stay tuned for more stories like this, more discussions like this. Peace.